And so it has arrived, the last day of the ugly Christmas sweater crochet along. Hey there crafters, welcome to my channel. It's Amanda here at Crafters Autonomous. So yes, today is the fourth and final installment of the ugly Christmas sweater crochet along. You may remember from last week, if you've been following along, that basically we made like an ugly Christmas sweater tank top. And today we are going to finish off the look by adding sleeves. Now, I'm a big fan of this part because I have kind of long limbs, like arms and legs. And what always happens is I'll wear stuff and it'll be like long sleeves, so the sleeves will come like there. And like if I stand, they'll come to like here, but then when I reach for stuff, they come like that. But what's nice about this project is you can make the sleeves however long or short you want. So if you want to make like short sleeves to elbow length, 3/4 length, or full long sleeves, you can totally do that. Super easy, you just change how many rows we do. Also, I love this part of the project because it finally all comes together and you get to have a completed project that you get to wear to your ugly Christmas sweater party, or if you just feel like being festive, you can totally wear it like that. I will not judge. So really there's not much more to say other than let's jump into crocheting these sleeves. Before we even start working on these sleeves, I'm going to say two things. First of all, write down what you do. Whatever we do for the first sleeve, we're going to do the exact same thing for the second sleeve. So as we work along, I'm going to tell you things like size it to fit this. When I do that and you figure out the correct size, write down how many rows you did, so that way you can duplicate it for the second sleeve. When we get towards the top up here, we're going to need to do some increases, so the amount of increases you do will probably be different than the number that I do because we last time shaped our armholes to be the size for each individual. So just make sure that whatever you do the first time that you write it down, so that way come the second time, you're not sitting there going, boy, I got it so perfect last time, what did I do? That's the first thing I would say to remember. Second thing I'm going to say is we actually don't even really need to have the sweater out until it's time to join. So we will need it in a little bit for some sizing things, but for now we're going to set it out of the way. Now it's time to get some yarn. Again, I've been working in these three colors, my Christmas colors, and you will need to pick a color to make the cuff. Here are the cuffs on my sweater. So this one I went with green. I think for this one I'm going to go with white because I'm running out of this white. I have some other skeins, but some of them don't quite match and I'm not sure what kind of yarn they are. So we're going to start with making the cuffs from white, and maybe I'll add some white in later, or maybe we'll just stick with red and green. All that to say, pick a color to do your cuff. And I like to do the cuff one color and then a different color for the sleeves, but again, you can change color whenever you want in this project, totally up to you. So I've got my yarn, I'm going to start by making a slip knot, grab my size K 6.5mm hook, and the cuffs are made the exact same way that we work the hem of the sweater. So you can go back and watch that video, or you can watch this quick explanation here. I'm going to start by making a chain. So however long you chain, that's going to be the width of your cuff. So the more I chain, the longer this cuff is going to be. So if you want a smaller chain, do less. If you want a bigger chain, do more. This one here, I think I chained 5, which gave me 4 single crochet. So I'm going to do the same here. So I'm going to chain 5, and then I will work 4 single crochet across. So I'm just going to skip this first single crochet. That's going to be my turning chain. Work a single crochet in my second chain, and a single crochet in my third chain, and in my fourth chain, and in my fifth chain. And this will leave me with a row where I have a single turning chain plus 4 single crochet. To work the next row, I'm going to chain 1, turn my work around. Now in the back loops only, I'm going to work single crochet. So I'll do another 4 single crochet, but make sure you work only in the back loops, and that will give it this ridge look. So I'm going to do 4 single crochet across. And I'm going to repeat this enough times until it's the size I want it to be for going around my wrist. I find that this is fairly stretchy, so I tend to fit it pretty much down to the size of your wrist if you don't want it to be super big. And then I like to make the sleeves puffy, so I like to do a tighter cuff and puff your sleeves. That's totally optional, but if you want to go with the puffy sleeve option, it works best if you do a tighter, smaller cuff. So I'm going to work several rows of this. I'll bring my model in here to have her size it, and then we will go from there. Which also, my poor model, she's been sick, so if you've appreciated her helping out, even though this week she's not feeling so good, definitely let her know in the comments below. I had some sweet comments from some of you about her helping, so I know she appreciates those comments. Because my model is feeling under the weather, instead of having her come upstairs, I'm going to show you on me how I would size this, and then I'm going to go to her and size it on her instead of making her come in here already. So once you crochet along a little ways, and I haven't stretched this, so if I stretch this, you know, it gives a lot, so don't stretch it, just keep it gentle and relaxed where it's not stretched. I'm just going to hold it and go around my wrist like so. And I'm going to see where they hit. So they would hit right about there, and that's actually a pretty good sizing there for my wrist. You want to make sure that you'll be able to get it off, but as you can see, it has plenty of stretch. You know, I've stretched out a little bit, so there's a little extra give there, but you want to size it to your wrist. That way, unstretched, it fits comfortably around your wrist. I'm going to go size this on my model, and then I will slip stitch this together. So I have sized it to be the correct size for her wrist, but before I even slip stitch it, I'm going to go to a notebook and pen, and I'm going to write down what I did. So I'm going to count how many rows. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so I did 19 rows. So I worked 4 single crochet, 19 rows. And I'm going to keep notes as I go along, so that when I do the other sleeve, I can exactly duplicate it. Once I am done here, I'm just going to take my work and I'll fold it in half. Come this way. And I'm going to slip stitch it together. There's lots of ways you can orient it to slip stitch it, just whichever way seems comfortable to you. I like to do it like this, where I have them folded, flip the whole thing over, and then from the front I go under this front side, and I go through the back, and over, pull it all through, and I just work this slip stitch on down the side of this cuff. And sorry, it doesn't want to focus super well on the white, but it'll get a little clearer once we get to another color. So I'm just slip stitching this section together. And because I'm going to be changing color here, I'm going to fasten off completely, and I would just work my stitches on top of the tail that is left to hide it in there. So here is our first sleeve cuff, and I will show you what to do next. So I've crocheted both of my cuffs, and if we look at our project here, just thinking color-wise, you know, the sleeves will be down here, you know, this is the hem right along here. So I'm going to go with green because that's the color I have the most left over, and plus then it won't be, you know, red on red beside each other. So if you aren't changing color here, you'll do this a little bit differently. You'll still be connected here. So instead of doing the first double crochet that I do, you will have to do a chain 2 in addition and then start working around. But otherwise, I'm going to show you how I do this if I change color. So I'm going to start with a slip knot in my new color. And I'm going to work a floating double crochet, drop double crochet. I don't really know what you call it. I think I call it a floating double crochet. I call it all kinds of different things. And I'm going to look here along my seam where I joined, and I'm going to yarn over, insert my hook just somewhere in the side, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And I've got all these tail ends, so I want to work over them. So that's just something to keep in mind. And basically what I want to do is in between every one of these ridges, I want to work about 3 double crochet. If you remember on the hem, we worked only 2 double crochet between each of these posts, and that kept it even, but we want to kind of make these sleeves a little puffy, a little fun, so we're going to work extra double crochet in there. So work anywhere between 3 and 4 double crochet in between each of these straight up and down spires. So I'm just going to come here. So I've got one here and I've got one there, so I'm going to try to work 3 in this section. I'm just going to find a spot where I can insert my hook. Again, right now I'm working over the tail, so it's a little hard to see. And I'm just going to work a double crochet. Work another one. Once I get past these tails, I'll show you better what I'm doing, and I'll show you where I like to insert my hook to work along the side here. Alright, so here I am, I'm right at the edge, there's a post right here and a post right here, and I'm going to try to work 3 in this next section. So I like to work right here, right under here, and right in here. I'll show you that closer. To yarn over, In this first bump right here, insert my hook right in there and work a double crochet. For my next spot, I yarn over, and I actually come in just right underneath this stitch here. Just catch the whole stitch in there and work my next double crochet. And then last of all, there's this spot right here that's kind of pulled open right before this next post. I like to work a stitch right in there, and that gets me 3 in between each of those posts. So I'm going to keep working this around, and I'm going to just keep, working these extra ones, and it'll kind of cause it to bow out a little bit, be a little bit puffy off the cuff. And then once I get to this side, I'm going to join just like we did on the body. So here I've worked all the way around, and it's time to join. I can either join, or I may actually work another stitch right in here just to kind of fill in that gap so it doesn't get gapey anywhere, and then also it'll give it a little more of that poof factor. And so I'm going to work a slip stitch right in the top of my first double crochet from the round, just like that. Now again, at this point I want to pause and I want to count how many stitches I did. That's the first thing I want to do when I pause. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, so I have 31 stitches here. So I'm going to make a note, 31 double crochet. Another thing I want to do is before I go any further, make sure that this is actually fitting well. So again, I'm going to be showing this on my wrist just so I don't have to drag my poor sick model upstairs. But I'm going to basically just stick it on my wrist and see how it is fitting. And there you go. The first round it'll look kind of weird because it'll be this weird puff out thing. But if you look on my sleeve here, it puffs out beyond the cuff. But once you work more, it looks normal and it looks good. So this is pretty much how I want this to be turning out. So for the next several rows, I'm going to work a row just like I did this last one. So however many double crochet you work going around the cuff the first time, you're going to work a whole bunch of rows going that many times around. So this is my sleeve, you can see my arm here. And I stayed even all the way up to about here, this is my inner elbow. Right here is my bicep, that's non-existent, or should it say non-existent, I guess non-toned. And then up here is my shoulder. Kind of a weird camera angle here. Anyways, you want to work up to about mid bicep and just keep it the same thickness, and then about mid bicep we'll start doing some increases and we'll also start shaping the top. So again, if you're like me and your sleeves are always short and you want to make it longer, then just keep working evenly, really long, so that way if the top of working evenly sits about mid bicep, that the end of the sleeve is the length you want. So I'm going to work around a bunch of times like that. Again, you can change color at any point you want. Another idea I'll throw out there is instead of working double crochet, you could swap up and do some single crochet. Personally, I'm going to work double crochet just because it's a little faster, but as long as you work the same number of stitches going around, it doesn't matter what kind of stitch you use. You could even try throwing in one of these crazy textures if you wanted to give the sleeves even more personality. So I'm going to work up and I'm going to size it on my model. I might have her come in here for that part. We'll see how she's feeling. And I'll show you about how far up I come, and then I will show you how to shape the top of the sleeve. So here's what I've done so far. I worked up just doing the same number of stitches that I did in this first row here, just working evenly in double crochet. I threw in a row of single crochet, did some color changes just for fun. But if we look at our sleeve and where we're going to be attaching it, we can see that our sleeve is a lot smaller than where we want to attach it up here. So what we need to do, now that I've reached to about the bicep, mid-bicep area, is we need to start doing some increases. So for this next row, I'm going to start with my chain 2, work in the same spot as my first stitch, and I'm going to work 2 double crochet and then an increase. So 2 double crochet, and then I'll work 2 double crochet in the same spot for my increase. And then 2 double crochet, just work evenly, so 1 double crochet there, 1 double crochet in the next spot, and then an increase. And I'm going to repeat this all the way around, and this is going to start opening up the sleeve. Now on my sweater that I made, I didn't increase soon enough in the top of the sleeve, and so it's a little bit bunchy in the underarm. So if you want to get it to fit better and have more mobility in the arms, and especially in the underarm area, not have so much fabric there, then you want to start expanding sooner. So start doing these increasing rows sooner. I personally find that if I wait till about mid-bicep, top of the bicep, that's usually a pretty good spot of where I need to start widening to be able to join it up here. So now that I've completed this row with these increases, you can kind of see it starts to bow out a little more, and we can compare it to our size so we can see we're getting a little bit closer. So you can either, depending on how much further up the sleeve you want to go, how long you want to make your sleeve, you can either follow this row with another row just like it, or you can do just a row working double crochet evenly around and then do the row with the increases. And it just depends on how soon you start widening out to make it this length. I'm just going to do my next row with the same process with the increases right after this row. And again, at this stage of this project, you want to make sure you are taking notes on what you are doing so that way you can duplicate it for the next sleeve. So again, I'm just going to do 2 double crochet and then an increase, 2 double crochet and then an increase, and work that all the way around. And then I'm going to measure it along here, and once we get to a size that's about the same width across as this piece, I'll show you our last step, and then it'll be time to attach the sleeve. So I've done that row of increases where I do 2 double crochet increase, that pattern around. I've done 2 rows of it, and when we compare it here, we can see that it's about kind of the same size here. Now if we were to attach the sleeve just like this, it would sit like really weird, and then when you put your arm in it and you move your arm down, there'd be a lot of fabric bunching. So we're going to create a little kind of wedge shape here to kind of angle it down a little more, and it'll help it fit better. And basically we're going to do this symmetric pattern. So you want to start by finding out how many stitches you have. So I'm going to count my stitches. So I have 45 stitches. So on the first half, I'm going to do this pattern where I work up, and on the second half, I'm going to do a pattern where I work coming back down. So I need to keep that number in mind. So if I do 45, that's going to be about 20 stitches, give or take a few stitches in each direction. So I'm going to spread this pattern out across 20 stitches. You will spread it out across however many stitches you have. The basic idea is we're going to do a few slip stitches, then a few single crochet, then a few half double crochet, then a few double crochet, and then a few treble. The number you do doesn't really matter, but by doing these stitches that have increasing heights, we're going to create that triangle shape. The important thing isn't so much how many slip stitches, how many single crochet, how many double crochet. The important thing is to make sure what you do on the first half is the same thing you do on the other half coming back around. So I'm pretty much already joining the top of there, so I'll count that slip stitch to join as my first slip stitch. I'll do a second one, and a third one, and then I think I'll swap to my single crochet. So I'll do some single crochet stitches here, working around. I'll do 4 of these, and then I'm going to work some half double crochet. And again, I'm just kind of spreading out the stitches, so I'm just kind of doing arbitrary numbers, but by doing these alternating stitches where I'm changing the height of the stitch, it's going to really help shape this. So I had 3 and 4, so that's 7, so I'll do 4 half double crochet also. So I need to do this one more. And then after the half double crochet, I'm going to do some double crochet. We'll see how close to the side here I'm getting. And I think I'm ready to switch over to doing the treble. So with the treble, you yarn over twice. And as I said, what I do this way, going on this side, I'm going to do the reverse coming back around the other way. So I'm going to finish this row, and again, this is why it's really helpful to make notes, so you can copy it exactly and not have to reinvent the wheel each time you do it for each side. So I'm going to check and see if I've worked through half my stitches, and if I have, then I'm going to reverse the pattern back on the other side. So as you can see here, I've shaped it so that way it gets taller at this end and shorter at the other end. So when I hold it up against you can see how that kind of starts angling it down. If you want to angle it down some more, you can repeat this row a second time, which I'm going to, and then after that, it will be time to join it. So if we look here at what I've done, I've worked the row of increasing and then decreasing heights of the stitches, and now I am ready to join my sleeve to my sweater. So the very first thing I need to do is I need to inside out both the sweater and the sleeve. So let me get the sweater inside outed. And then the sleeve. I'm going to reach through this end and pull it out this way. so I don't lose my ball of yarn. So my sleeve is inside outed and my sweater is inside outed. Now if I keep this folded in half, we can see that it lines up pretty well right through here. So basically what I want to do is I'm just going to work a slip stitch along this and this to slip stitch these together. So I'm at the side. This is kind of, so this section's the section that goes under the arm of the sleeve. These are these slip stitches that I did. So because I'm in the middle of these slip stitches, I'm going to find the middle of this flat section. So I'm going to find this stitch right here. It's the middle. So if I lay it flat, line this up, it's really easy to see. So this is where I'm going to start joining with a slip stitch. So I'm just going to come through my crochet right here. Go with that next stitch with my hook. Gonna go through this one that we found from on here. Right through there, yarn over and pull through everything on my hook to slip stitch it together. Go to my next spot on the sleeve, next spot on the sweater, slip stitch them together. And I'm just going to keep working the slip stitch to join them together. Now I would recommend that, especially once you get going up the side, that you start using some stitch counters, or that you just have some way to mark where the top of the sweater and where the top of the sleeve is, because you want the top of the sweater and the top of the sleeve to correspond to each other, so that way they match up there. So because you don't want to end up in a situation where you're working along and working this tight and this stretched out, and then you get to the top and you have a whole bunch of extra sleeves to still attach. So make sure that you work through this evenly. I'm going to keep this folded in half so I can see exactly where halfway is. I'm going to make sure that the halfway of the sleeve corresponds with the top point of where the sweater is folded. But other than that, I'm just going to do the simple slip stitch along as I go to attach the sleeve. And then I'll repeat the process with the second sleeve, and then my sweater will be all ready. Of course, after I weave in the ends, but you know, it's kind of taken me a while to get that done on my own sweater. So we'll see if I actually, get those ends woven in ever. Alright, so here's Beck Pie, the poor little sick child. She's being a good sport. We haven't even insided this out. Do you want to inside it out? Alright, go for it. The moment of truth. It's all been building up to this moment.
Oh, whoa. Is there like a front or back, or?
That kind of is, but I don't know that. I think that's the front, yeah. Because see, if you line up the seams to the back, it's a little higher.
That looks cool.
Alright.
Yeah,
put it on.
Alright.
Check it out!
I like it.
Cute. Can you do like a twirl around and pose? And wow, it's a fast twirl around.
I guess it has to be like the movie
the majestic,
where
yes.
people are
The
like
sparkle. And she So there you have it. This has been the Ugly Christmas Sweater Crochet Along. I know I've had a lot of fun with this project. I hope you've had fun.
I'm happy with the results.
Good, that's what you were going for. And I hope that you are happy with the results of how your sweater's turning out too. Don't forget to go to Crafters Autonomous on Facebook and look up the official pinned post at the top of the page where you can drop your comments of how your project turns out. I love to see how your project turns out. I've seen a couple of people's pictures of the progress, and I'm so glad you guys have been sharing those. So don't forget to share the finished project so that I can see how it turns out. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like and hit the subscribe button down below if you haven't already subscribed. I hope you have an awesome Christmas season. Happy crafting!